They say love finds you when you least expect it. But for Daniel, love arrived in the form of a 6-year-old girl holding a crumpled pink note and a stuffed rabbit. The restaurant was half empty that rainy evening, the candle on his table flickering against the glass as if trying to keep him company. He had been waiting for over an hour for a woman he'd never met. A blind date set up by his sister. But when the door opened, it wasn't the woman who walked in. It was a little girl with curly hair, dripping rain, and eyes filled with an innocence that could melt even the coldest heart. She stopped in front of him, looked up with a shy smile, and said softly, "My mommy's sorry she's late." And in that single moment, Daniel's life began to change forever. Daniel never liked blind dates. After losing his fiancée 3 years ago in a car accident, the idea of falling in love again felt impossible. He had buried his heart behind work, routines, and a quiet loneliness he refused to admit. His sister Laura thought otherwise. She insisted he meet a woman named Emily, a single mother, kind and warm, someone who knew the meaning of loss too. Daniel reluctantly agreed, more to silence his sister's pleading than out of real hope. Now, sitting in that dim restaurant, he felt foolish. The waitress had refilled his water twice. The pianist had already played 2 songs he once loved. 45 minutes had passed and still, no sign of Emily. Maybe she'd changed her mind. Maybe she saw his photo and thought he looked too serious. Maybe love just wasn't meant for him. As Daniel was about to leave, the sound of tiny footsteps made him turn. A little girl, barely 6, stood in front of his table, her raincoat too big, her shoes squeaking on the floor. She clutched a stuffed bunny in one arm and a small paper in the other. "Are you Mr. Daniel?" she asked. Daniel blinked, confused but nodded slowly. The girl smiled shyly and handed him the crumpled note. On it were hurriedly written words, "Hi Daniel, I'm running late. Please wait for me. Emily." He couldn't help but smile. The note felt oddly genuine, warm even. The girl climbed into the chair across from him without hesitation, placing her bunny carefully on the table. "Mommy said I could sit with you until she comes," she explained, swinging her legs under the chair. Daniel chuckled awkwardly. "So what's your name?" "Lily," she said proudly. "I'm 6.5. Mommy says I talk too much." In the next few minutes, Daniel forgot how lonely he felt. Lily talked about her school, her favorite ice cream, and how her mommy worked late but always made time to tell bedtime stories. She laughed easily, her joy contagious. For the first time in years, Daniel felt warmth spread through his chest, like sunlight after endless rain. Time passed quickly, and soon an hour had gone by. Still, Emily hadn't arrived. Daniel grew concerned. He didn't have her number, all he had was Lily, who now looked sleepy but calm, certain her mother would come. Just as Daniel was about to ask the waitress to help, the restaurant door opened again. A woman rushed in, breathless, rain-soaked, and clearly panicked. When she saw Lily, tears filled her eyes.
"Oh, thank God,"
she whispered, hugging her daughter tightly before turning to Daniel. "You must be Daniel. I'm so sorry." Daniel stood, unsure what to say, but something about her eyes tired yet full of life, made words unnecessary. She was beautiful in a simple, unpretentious way, the kind of beauty that wasn't about appearance but presence. As they sat together, Lily dozed off on her mother's lap. Emily apologized for being late. Her car had broken down, her phone had died, and she had walked the last few blocks in the rain just to make it. Daniel told her it was okay, that her daughter had kept him great company. They laughed softly, both aware that this meeting was unlike any other. That night, something fragile yet powerful began, a connection neither of them expected. Over the following weeks, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about Emily and her little girl. Their laughter replayed in his mind, haunting him in the sweetest way. When Emily called to thank him again, their conversation stretched from minutes to hours. They talked about everything: loss, fear, dreams, and the small joys that made life worth living again. Emily told him how her husband had left when Lily was just a baby. She had built her life from scratch, balancing 2 jobs, never letting her daughter see her cry. Daniel, in turn, shared how he'd lost the woman he loved in an accident, how he'd closed himself off from everyone since. They didn't need to pretend with each other. The walls that took years to build began to crumble quietly with every shared story, every late-night message, every accidental smile. One afternoon, Daniel offered to pick Lily up from school when Emily got stuck at work. He was nervous. He had never taken care of a child before. But Lily greeted him with the same bright smile that had melted his heart that rainy night. They went for ice cream, and she made him promise to attend her upcoming school play. "You have to come," she said. "Mummy gets nervous when she's alone." That evening, as Daniel watched Lily perform, he glanced at Emily sitting beside him. Their hands brushed, and neither pulled away. It was a simple moment, yet it felt like the beginning of something profound, something healing. Months passed. Daniel and Emily's bond deepened. He became part of their small world, helping Lily with her homework, fixing things around their apartment, bringing laughter back into their lives. Slowly, Emily's eyes began to shine again, and Daniel's heart, once buried in grief, started to beat with hope. But life tested them, as it always does. One night, Emily received a job offer that would move her and Lily to another city. She hesitated, torn between her career and the man who had taught her to believe in love again. When she told Daniel, he didn't try to stop her. He simply said, "Follow your dreams, Emily. I'll be right here, cheering for you." That night, Emily cried, not because she was leaving, but because she had finally met someone who truly understood love without possession. 2 months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Daniel was having coffee when someone knocked on his door. When he opened it, Lily stood there holding her bunny, smiling wide. "Mummy says we're home for good," she said. Behind her, Emily stood, eyes glistening. Daniel's voice trembled as he whispered, "Home." Emily nodded. "If you'll have us." He smiled, pulling them both into his arms as rain began to fall outside, just like the night they met. Sometimes, love doesn't arrive in candlelight or grand gestures. Sometimes, it walks in with tiny feet, holding a stuffed bunny and a simple message that changes everything. Daniel thought his story had ended years ago, but life had other plans. In Emily and Lily, he found not just love, but family, and every time he looked at them, he remembered that night in the restaurant when the little girl had said, "My mommy's sorry she's late." Because maybe love isn't about timing at all. Maybe it's just about finding the ones worth waiting for.